I am Nancy Crow, president of the Antioch College Alumni Association. I think you've seen me a few times this weekend, but I may be a new face to a few of you who have just arrived. The reunion is well underway. I hope everybody has been having fun and enjoying hobnobbing with their classmates, colleagues, and new friends. This morning, we are very honored to present our highest alumni award. You are all familiar with Horace Mann's words to the graduates of 1859 and words which have been repeated by every graduating class since then. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Well, we have, of course, named the Horace Mann Award in honor of alumni who have indeed won some victory, or perhaps many victories, for humanity. This year, our awardee is Edward Ifft from our anniversary class of 1960. He has basically been saving the world from nuclear annihilation for the past 38 years. He has been involved in negotiating and implementing many of the key arms control agreements of the past 4 decades. He began his government career at the U.S. Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, where he worked on the SALT negotiations in Helsinki and Vienna, and continues to work part-time for the State Department as a foreign affairs officer. Ed is one of the reasons that we're all still on Earth, and that there even is an Earth. I have asked alumni board member, who has just been elected to a second term, Don Wallace, also a member of the class of 1960, to make a somewhat more personal introduction of Edward Ifft. Don?
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, and it's very apparent that you can all hear. I like rainy days. My hair gets wet, I comb it, it stays in place for a few minutes. It's been that way for 50 years. But back in Antioch days, we didn't bother about combing hair and things like that. My first hall was Stagg Hall, just down the way here, and I learned quickly enough that if I could sleep until about 5 minutes to class, with an open window, I could go out the window down the drain pipe and be in class at the science building on time. In keeping with the theme of this weekend's reunion, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote or said, "Wars are port chisels for carving out peaceful tomorrows." It's very appropriate in terms of our honoree today. Ed Ifft, whom we are honoring, spent a career trying to carve a peaceful tomorrow out from the nuclear world that we who lived then felt we faced, and really do still face. In every sense, he is a person to be honored in accordance with Horace Mann's words. Ed, as Nancy said, shares with me the distinction of graduating from Antioch in 1960, with the class celebrating its 50th anniversary. I recall clearly and distinctly meeting Ed on my first day in class 55 years ago, in the fall of 1955, in late October. My first class was Dr. Pillard's great literature class. He had told us that we had to start reading the Bible. Me, read the Bible? The next class was Mr. Dustin, and his idea was that we should listen to classical music. And for a guy like me that came off a farm 15 miles away over here, been listening to hillbilly music from the buttermilk drinker-upper over in Dayton, that was a long distance to travel in just 3 days. Al Stewart's calculus class was next. And I don't know why I recall this, but I recall walking in. You go up the science building stairs, go around the corner to the right, and that first room was where he was teaching. And I walk in, And here's this guy about 2 rows over. He's slouching back, not like he is right now. Not much different. A bit younger. Wearing horn-rimmed glasses. And I thought, bookworm. Well, he really was. You know, we didn't take too many classes together. He was a physics major, I was pre-med. But by golly, can you hear me okay? By golly, I don't think I ever caught Ed in any class I ever took with him. He was a superb student, and we all knew it from the get-go. But that wasn't the end of Ed Ifft for me. A few days later, this bookworm showed up to play basketball in our intramural league. Then it was a very tightly contested league. The guy could play basketball. He was taller than I was, and he could shoot over me. And I was the biggest guy in my class, my hall, so it was my job to guard him. I couldn't do it. Even when Steve Schwarner was refereeing, I could... or trying to referee. I was left to my devices. I would hack Ed, push Ed, trip Ed, do anything I could to throw him off his game and get his cool. And that went on for 5 years. And I never got him off his game. He just kept shooting that ball and put in the basket. And the only time I ever had peace was one time when we played on the same team. I don't know what happened, but it happened. And here was Ed, the same team. And that was peace. But it's like that for 5 years. And I've got to think, given his career, that the pushing, tripping, shoving, everything but spitting that I directed towards Ed probably helped prepare him for his role in negotiating with the Soviets over nuclear disarmament. I really think so. After graduating from Antioch, Ed went on to Ohio State to get his PhD in physics. And we stayed in touch for a while. I recall one time I was playing soccer going through medical school, and he writes me and says to me, "You better watch your amateur status, you may lose it." But, you know, we were in touch, and so I followed Ed over the years, and it was very exciting when I got to the Washington area, and he was already there. We didn't really correspond, but I could sure read about Ed in the newspaper. I didn't quite always understand what it was about, but, I mean, here is one, SALT, Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty or something like that. When he first went to Washington, he was with the United States Arms Control and Disarmament Agency. And while he was there, he was involved with the SALT Treaty that were conducted in Helsinki and Vienna. He then moved to the State Department, where he continued to work on strategic arms control, as well as on constraints on nuclear testing, serving as a deputy United States negotiator at the 1974 negotiations on the Threshold Test Ban Treaty in Moscow. That's my classmate already, just starting. He participated in negotiations at Geneva, which produced the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, becoming senior advisor and State Department liaison to the Defense Threat Reduction Agency until his retirement from the executive service in 2002. Some of the awards Ed received include a distinguished executive in the Senior Executive Service awarded by President George H.W. Bush, the Exceptional Civilian Service Medal by the On-Site Inspection Agency, the Distinguished Civilian Service Medal by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and in retirement he continues to work part-time in the State Department as a Foreign Affairs officer. That's almost 60 years, 50 years of service, not 40. He is also an adjunct professor in the Security Studies program at the Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. In addition, as we know, in 2005, he was selected as our Chatterjee Lecture Series speaker. Ed, your turn. As he comes up, as Ed comes forward, I will say that he offered, keep it short. We've only got 45 minutes. Ed?